Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Hot Jobs at Higher Military. We do this every week. We get together on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we talk about the DoD SkillBridge program. And today, I have got a special guest. I've got our Director of Operations, Jason Willett, who I am convinced there is not a SkillBridge question that he cannot answer. We will test my theory today because I have about 10 different questions that are often asked in Facebook groups, on LinkedIn, pretty much everywhere that we're social, we see questions asked about the SkillBridge program. And so today we're hoping to answer a lot of those questions, a lot of those commonly asked questions. So if you are a transitioning service member, or if you know a transitioning service member, would you please tag yourself or tag your friend in the chats? We would love to go back through later after we're done with our broadcast and just connect with everyone and make sure everyone in our community gets the assistance they need. So if you know someone, tag them in the chats or tag yourself and we'll be happy to connect. So let's get into our program. Jason, we have got some great questions for you today. Let's see if we can stump you with any of these. So the first question on my list, this one gets asked quite a bit. The question is, does a SkillBridge internship lead to a full-time job?
Well, the answer is yes, for the most part. So the program itself is meant to be an opportunity for you to work in the civilian sector, and there should be a high probability of employment. From Higher Military's perspective, our hire rate is over 90%, and actually there's a couple of percent there that actually a service member will go through the internship and either find another opportunity or actually realize that this may not be, the position they want, and they actually, look elsewhere for the position. So at the end of the day, from our program, we're over 90%. It is supposed to be a higher probability of employment, but something you have to understand from both sides. So the employer and the service member have no obligation at the end of the internship. So at the end of the internship, the employer has no obligation to offer a full-time role, and the service member has no obligation to be able to accept the full-time role. So there's that open-endedness. For us, we vet our companies that we partner with, and we only partner with companies that actually have what's called a headcount, actually have positions available to hire the service member after the internship if they show that they're the right fit for the position.
Okay, so over 90%, and that's for us at Higher Military. Those are incredible statistics, and that's really encouraging to know. So let's move on. We have another question here. This is a good one. So is there a different approval process for a remote versus an in-person internship?
Okay, so every branch of service is a little bit different. So there is a little bit difference in the approval process. So when you're doing something remote, obviously you're staying in the general area. The Army, for instance, uses a 50-mile radius around the military installation you're at that can be considered where you're not actually moving or going outside the local area. For the Army per se, that means an 05 can approve that internship for the service member or the soldier on the Army's behalf. Or if they go outside that 50-mile radius, then it has to go to an 06 to brigade commander. For the other services, usually it's an 04 or a level higher approval. What happens there is it's pretty much the same process, but they have to have the PTDY orders with the actual address to where they're traveling outside of their local area if they are leaving their local area versus staying around the installation. So a couple different ways of how the services do it, but there is a very slight difference. But at the end of the day, really the biggest difference is having the PTDY orders, the permissive TDY orders, actually having the address of where you're performing the internship is really what's the crux of any service member that's trying to do it outside their area versus remote.
So my question would be, what about a fully remote? As you know that we have at Higher Military, we have several fully remote internship opportunities. So what if the service member is pursuing something that truly is completely remote? Is that a different application process?
No, it's the exact same process. Their PTDY orders, if they're doing it from home, their PTDY orders would be their home address. The approval may be different. Like I said, with the Army, the approval process may be different. If you're remote, then you can if you're staying obviously in the general area of the installation, your battalion commander, the O5, can approve it versus having to go all the way to the brigade commander or O6 whenever you travel out that 50-mile radius. So the paperwork is essentially the same, but approvals can be different just based off a branch of service that you're in. But the reality of it is, you based off of what you're looking to do, the paperwork is in essence the same.
Okay, great. That answers that. So let's move on. Another one, and I do believe this question was asked by someone who is in the Air Force. I don't know if that makes your answer any different, but he asked, what if I'm asked to provide a training plan for my SkillBridge?
Yeah, so, generally speaking, this is an Air Force requirement. I work with all branches of service, and the Air Force is primarily the one that's always usually looking for the training plan. Some others do from time to time. So two ways to approach this. Usually the employer that you're looking to do the SkillBridge, the host employer that you're looking to do the SkillBridge through, the internship through, should be able to provide you the training plan for your counselor to be able to submit with your packet. For us at Higher Military, we actually take care of that for the service members. So if they go through the process and the counselor is looking for a training plan, our account managers would provide them a training plan for them to submit with their packet.
Okay, wonderful. So if you're in the Air Force, no worries, we've got it covered. So That's good. Okay, and then this one got asked pretty recently in one of our Facebook groups. Should I use my leave before I start my SkillBridge, or can I sell it back?
Yeah, so one of the things that I would recommend is not using your leave before the SkillBridge if you can. Now, obviously, this is your leave. You're planning your own transition. But the reason why I say not using your leave before the SkillBridge is because if you plan your leave correctly, your transition leave, and you're able to get an internship or a SkillBridge opportunity that ends once your transition leave starts, you can actually get hired and do what's called double dip. You can get paid by the employer and you can get paid by the military at that same time while you're on transition leave, and that's a huge benefit for those that are transitioned. But if you do that leave up front, then you won't have that opportunity to do that at the tail end of the SkillBridge. Now, selling back leave, you could do that as well. I mean, you could sell back leave, and then you can extend out your internship and be in the internship longer. You still get the money paid back that way. But generally speaking, what I've seen work best is for service members to use that transition leave right after the SkillBridge, get hired and do that double dipping if possible. That's the best case scenario. But you really got to look at your own personal situation on when you need to take leave and how you're transitioning. That's what it really boils down to.
So it sounds to me like the key is in the planning. Make sure you plan well enough in advance that you can take advantage of all of these resources.
The earlier, the better, because like I said, the earlier, the better. The earlier you start the process, the better opportunity that you have to find a SkillBridge that you could actually accomplish within the 180-day mark, but then also end when your transition leave starts as well. So you can then, potentially get hired and collect 2 paychecks as you're leaving the military. So that's earlier you start that process, the better. But if you're just all things equal, I definitely would not use my leave before the SkillBridge internship if possible.
Okay, good to know. Good to know, because that one does get asked a lot. So that's good. That's good information. Let's move on. So this one gets asked a lot too. Are there any remote internships for someone stationed overseas?
So the answer is yes, but let me caveat that. So it's really dependent on the employer that's offering the internship or SkillBridge opportunity. Depends on their own security measures and what they do. Like, for instance, quite a few of the IT or cyber companies we're partnering with, they don't allow people from overseas to do the SkillBridge because they want to make sure they keep their network secure. And so you have to be CONUS. But we do have other partners that allow remote. And, really, there's 2 factors. If they allow remote just because their security parameters don't control, the web, kind of the internet, there's no issue. But the other factor you got to take into consideration too is you got to really be all in on those type of internships, because some of them make you're on a schedule. So depending on where you're living in the world, you might have to go completely reverse cycle, be awake when everybody else is sleeping. So there's some other consideration. So the short answer is there are remote internships for those that are serving overseas, but it's dependent on each employer's security measures that they have in place.
Gotcha. And I had never even thought about like the reverse schedule before. So that's a really, really good point. So yeah, let's move on. Here's a good one. Assuming a job offer is possible, can I find out what the job pays before I accept the internship?
So absolutely. So the way I can only speak the way our program works. The way our program works is our account managers trying to line you up with the position that we have posted. If you look like you're a good fit, we then refer your information over to the employer. Then the employer determines whether or not they want to interview the service member. If they want to interview the service member, we kind of step back and let the service member and the employer, go through that interview process. And at that time, the service member, it's free game. The service member can ask any questions about the position, the company. They can ask salary at that point. For us as a higher military, because we are a third party, we don't get into salary negotiation. What we do offer is when we do partner with our employers, that they agree to provide a salary that's commensurate with position and location of the position. But we leave the negotiation really up to the service member to be able to negotiate that in their interview process. Because really, we're trying to do two things. We're trying to get them an internship and set them up for transition success, but we're also wanting to replicate them actually being out, as a civilian and having to do these things, having to negotiate salary, doing different things. So there's two parts to this, because very likely, unfortunately, the way the job market is now, this is not going to be their last job, most likely. They're going to have to go through this process again. So this is their opportunity to kind of practice that, for future opportunities down the road.
So it sounds to me like don't treat this like an internship. Truly treat this like a job. Truly treat it like a job interview, like negotiations, just like you were interviewing for any other job. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. For our program, that's the way our program's set up. So just to give you an idea, the way our program's set up, you interview. If they want to bring you on as an intern, they'll extend an offer to you, but it'd be as an intern. Once your internship is done, if they choose to hire you, you're not interviewing again. You've already interviewed for the job up front. So this is, in essence, an interview for a job. That's kind of the way our program works.
Okay, that's awesome. And just to check in with our viewers, if you have any questions about the SkillBridge program, please leave your questions in the chats. We will go back through after our broadcast and we will make sure everyone gets an answer to whatever questions you have. And if you're a transitioning service member, go ahead and tag yourself in the chats. Our team would love to connect with you, reach out, and just make sure you're getting the assistance you need. So let's move on because we have more questions. The next one is, so this one was asked just the other day. Why is there a lack of knowledge about the SkillBridge program among military leaders?
So, there's really a couple entities to this. So to be perfectly honest with you, they established the DoD SkillBridge program, but DoD, they didn't resource it. So there's no marketing plan behind this. There's no education plan behind this. It's just essentially a policy that was created that the services can use as part of their transition program. But there's really no push. There's no like big SkillBridge office somewhere, mapping out how, the SkillBridge program is done. There's nobody to really push it. And so what happens is a lot of what's being socialized and marketing for the SkillBridge program comes from partnered companies like us. We're approved DoD SkillBridge providers, and we actually go out and market it and tell, kind of explain this to people that are out there. And then you have 1,000 of us SkillBridge providers that then market differently. So there can be some confusion on that, and then on the specifically with the question with military leaders, I think it's really, there's a mixed bag. I just retired a couple of years ago. I understand the reality of this is it's just the reality that transition service members do not feed what the number one priority of the military is. It's readiness. And so unless, the information about these programs is put right in front of leaders, or they have the desire to want to learn to help their transition service members go out there and learn about this, they're at nowhere in the life cycle of a military leader is anybody injecting or, kind of showing them this program, the DoD SkillBridge program. So it's got to be really on the leader themselves to want to go learn about it, find the information. And we should, as leaders. If we call ourselves, my opinion, if you're a true leader, that does not end when that service member takes the uniform off. It's people first, and you should always be trying to learn stuff to be able to assist your people. But we're always going to have that challenge of leaders that want to learn about it, or leaders that are really not really behind the program because it doesn't feed what they get rated on, which is readiness at the end of the day. And I'm just being frank and honest with you. So it's always going to be that tug of war per se, that I think leaders will always be that behind the power curve. We're higher military. We make a big push. We're trying to really get this injected into professional military education as service members go through their career, that they at least get an introduction to the program earlier on as they're going through their schools. We're not there yet. Maybe one day we'll get there, but that's really the challenge. Is there's really no outward push for the program for military leaders to get and or service members to actually get. That's why there's a lot of confusion about the program.
Yeah, and that's a shame, because it's an incredible resource. I mean, it can literally be life-changing for a service member who could otherwise have a difficult transition. And I know from my perspective as a military spouse, my own husband, who has been in the military for over 19 years, had never even heard of the SkillBridge program until I heard about it via LinkedIn just a few months ago. So there's clearly a lack of education about this resource, and I'd love to see us fix that some way or another. So we're working on that.
Another thing that you need to understand about the program too is when they did establish it, they also put out that you could not use appropriated funds for the program. So even if the services wanted to ramp up and market it, there's no money for it. There's been no money allocated for it. So it's always going to be that struggle. But to your point, for me, I'm on my 3rd year of separation, and I've worked with a lot of different programs and service members. By far, DoD SkillBridge is easily the best transition program out there. It is. And it's just, unfortunately, it's just not well known enough and, not really backed enough from military leaders.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, well, let's move on because we have more questions. Here's a good one. Are there allowances for a SkillBridge move, and will it affect my BAH?
Yeah, so generally speaking, bottom line is usually the way the program's set up is you're on temporary duty. You're still assigned to your same installation, but you're on temporary duty to wherever your SkillBridge is located. So your pays, your benefits, your BAH generally do not change. Now, recently, I've become aware as we're looking through, this is where the different services coming in. Recently, we did find that the Air Force has now created they have a policy where is if you're overseas and you're moving back stateside, that your BAH will change to the locale to where you're moving back stateside. I have not seen that from the other services in writing anywhere. The Air Force is the only place I've seen that in writing. Really, what I've seen for generally speaking across the board, all the other installations, or all the other branches of service, is that your BAH, your pays, everything stays the same because you're still assigned to that same duty station. But what I would recommend is if you are overseas specifically, that you go talk to your local finance office, your transportation office, your command, just to make sure you got a clear understanding of how that works. Stateside, I think it's pretty much set. I don't think any BAH is changing because even in the Air Force policy they created, I think it was specifically for overseas. So if you're stateside, I think your pays and benefits stay the same.
Okay, sounds good. So short answer, it depends. When in doubt, ask your finance office.
Yeah, for the preponderance of people that are doing it, it's going to stay the same. But we just want to caveat that because that is something new that we did see with the Air Force, where they actually written it in a policy that the Air Force has for their SkillBridge program.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Let's move on. We just have a couple more questions left. What if I've already accepted a SkillBridge and then I find a better one?
Okay, so this goes back to what I was talking about a few minutes ago. I mean, you got to learn how to be an adult out here. You got to do some adulting now. So, if you go and you accept a SkillBridge program with an employer, you've agreed to obviously participate in the SkillBridge. They're banking on you to come to that position. And then if you find one better, there's some considerations you got to figure out here now. So I've seen people try to do this, try to game the system. And you know what happened? They didn't get any SkillBridge offer because, employers, they have an understanding of what's going on. And when you enter an agreement with someone, I think you need to be either one, be true to your word or be very transparent with them. So I would never give a clear answer on this, to be honest with you, Olivia. I think what you need to know as a transition of service members, as you're trying to navigate this process and system. This is no different than when you get out and you're actually looking for a job. I think you just need to be transparent. And what I would also say is make sure that you have stability in what you're doing. So just because you find one better, have you been approved for one better? You know, there's some things you got to look at to make sure you're taking care of your family. But generally speaking, what I always tell service members, no matter what they're doing, when you go into something, be transparent, communicate effectively with people. Because even if you did find one, a better one that you deem better, and then you moved on, you don't want to burn the bridge with the employer you already had an agreement with. So there's ways of doing that in a professional manner, whereas you never know. You might have to come back to them one day looking for a job, and you don't want to burn that bridge. So I don't have a clear answer on that. I just think that you got to be a transparent and honest with the employer. And you know, but don't pigeonhole yourself either. But it's just a balancing act. All I would tell you, I think the best foundational advice I would give: don't burn bridges. And no matter what you do, no matter what you decide to do on here, make sure you have something locked in, and don't burn bridges. You know, be professional during the process. Don't start ghosting people. That'll get your name thrown around as well too. So.
Yeah, I think that's really, really solid advice. Protect your bridges. Don't burn them. Take care of your bridges. Yeah, absolutely. One last question for the day. And this is a good one, I think. I'm overwhelmed by all the options. How do I know what to apply for? You know,
something bigger and broader than actually the SkillBridge program is the majority of us that transition out of the military, we don't know what we want to do, one, and two, we don't know what's out there. So there's this process where we really got to figure out really what do we want to do? What am I capable of doing? What am I, you know, what does my background allow me to do? And really figure out what your passion is. What do you enjoy doing? You know, for me, I'll give you an example. I did logistics in the military. Well, when I got out, I have no desire to do logistics. I wanted to do other things. So I went and found other things that I was more passionate about. And I like coaching and teaching, mentoring. That's why I'm at higher military now. But, you know, if you look at where my military career was, 27 years of logistics, yeah, he's going to go do logistics. Well, it doesn't always work out that way. So I think most importantly, it is overwhelming. There's a lot of programs. There's a lot of things out there. I think you really got to figure out what you want to do first. Then once you know what you want to do, then you really need to just start focusing your networking, focus your program searches, focus everything that you're looking to do on that specific field, career field, location, whatever it may be. Because if not, you're going to be just like me when I first, you know, came out. It was just, there's so much, it's so overwhelming. But once I started to narrow down where I was living, started narrowing down what I was interested in, you know, I was able to really ramp up my networking. I was really able to leverage the programs that I knew were going to be beneficial just to me specifically, not just a broad program. So I think that would be my best recommendation for you. It's not so much about the SkillBridge program. It's really, you got to figure yourself out first. Once you do that, I think you can really narrow down and not feel so overwhelmed, by looking for programs out there for you.
And isn't that the $1 million question, right? What do I want to do when I grow up? It's the $1 million question. And I think we're all struggling with it, but you've given some solid advice.
Well, let me just tell you one thing that we do, and this is kind of an oddball kind of piece of advice, but I tell service members all the time that, you know, reach out to me, they're not sure what they want to do. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just direct them to our website and say, hey, go look at our website. Go look at what's on there and get a realm of what's in the realm of possible out there. Give you some ideas, you know, so on and so forth, just to kind of get them thinking about what's out there. Because I think a lot of times we just pigeonhole ourselves based off of what we've been doing and don't realize what we can do. And in the military, we do a lot of things that people don't really consider as you're going out. You're doing HR, you're doing training, you're doing operations, you're doing all these different things in the military that if you like one of those areas that was not your full-time job in the military, you can actually craft yourself and work yourself into a position like that on the civilian side. If you know how to go about doing that, maybe find a mentor in that career field. The sky's the limit. You just got to figure out where you want to go.
All right. Well, that's good advice. That's good advice. So before we go, let's make sure everyone knows how to apply for all of these amazing SkillBridge opportunities. I think as of today, I know we have over 100, Jason, and I know that a handful of those are really incredible 100% remote positions. So we legitimately have something for everyone, different skill sets, different just go look at our website, hiremilitary.us, and go ahead and register. Then you can apply. And the registration process is super easy. We use LinkedIn. So if you're already on LinkedIn, it should take you just a few minutes. It shouldn't be that hard at all. So go ahead and get registered. So that way we can really kind of get you into our pool of candidates. And it's a lot easier for our account managers to really help you find the opportunity that best suits you. But again, if you know someone that could use this information, please tag them in the chats. We will be sure to go through after our broadcast, make sure we get connected to everyone, make sure everyone gets the answers to whatever questions they had. But that's it for now. Jason, do you have any closing remarks before we shut down for the day?
No, thank you for this opportunity. And we're here for, the transition service members out there. If you got questions, shoot them to us. We'll be more than happy to answer them. I mean, that's why we exist. We're here for you as you transition. So don't hesitate to reach out to our team. We're a crew of dedicated veterans, military spouses, and active duty interns on our team. So we're always really passionate about helping you guys. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks for this opportunity, Olivia.
Yep, sounds good. All right, everyone. So same time, same place next week, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And that's all for today. You guys have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.